everybody, and welcome to a special bonus episode of the Deus Ex Cinema podcast, where we will be reviewing and fixing Season 8 of Game of Thrones. I'm your host, Aaron Clues. Joining me today is Game of Thrones superfan, Sureyya
Hi.
and Game of Thrones maybe fan, Marty Adams.
I'm a little late.
So obviously super spoilers ahead for probably all of Game of Thrones, but especially Season 8. As usual, let's start, kind of talk about where we're coming from. I can go first because I never do. Sureyya, what season did I start watching Game of Thrones? Because I started late, and that's how you and I kind of started dating. Was through watching Game of Thrones.
Oh.
Fuck.
Sitting on my love seat in my dorm room.
I
think I started...
I think you started like third season.
Yeah, I binged the first 3.
With me.
And then started watching them live on the 4th season.
Yes?
Yeah, that sounds right. It was 3rd or 4th, it doesn't matter.
That's so many seasons we've watched it together.
Yeah, you could say it was 8 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we did that. I'd always been interested in it before I started watching it, and then I was the only one out of the 3 of us that, with the newest season, watched every episode as it aired.
Well,
and was
okay. To be fair, I didn't want it to end,
well,
which is why I put off watching the last 2 episodes.
I'm just clarifying, though, that I was the only one, in the discussion, you could say, as each episode was airing.
Yes.
So, Sureyya, you kind of hinted on it, but what was your history with Game of Thrones going into this season?
Oh! I had not watched it from the very beginning. An ex-boyfriend introduced it to me, and I watched... I don't know how many. I think I watched 2 seasons in legitimately like a day.
Mm-hmm.
That was back when there was like 10 episodes at an hour each.
Yeah.
So
that'd be like 20 hours of content.
10 hours.
But if you did 2 seasons.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I binged that really hard.
You like Lord of the Rings, though, so that's nothing bad to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I binged it really hard when I was first introduced to it. And then I restarted when we first met. Played catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we rewatched it again to prepare for the last season.
Perfect segue to Marty's history with Game of Thrones.
I wanted nothing to do with it for the last 8 years. And then you guys wanted to watch it again for the new season, and I was like, yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
And then I did. And I had nothing before it. No, I didn't even know I couldn't even get spoiled for anything because I just didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Completely blind.
And we should probably say, Sureyya kind of touched on this, but I saw every episode of Season 8 as it aired. Sureyya saw every episode, watching the last 2 yesterday, May 29th.
I did watch the last 2 episodes
and Marty
yesterday.
skipped the first 4 episodes and only watched the last 2.
I stopped caring. It was a little bit much and I didn't have time.
So before we go into it, can we talk about why you stopped caring? Just a little bit? Cover our baseline?
Well...
Because season 7 was also rough.
Yeah.
Not as rough as 8.
I just kind of stopped losing interest. Or I started losing interest when they... the inner politics and inner conflicts really stopped happening.
Okay.
And it was all very extrinsic. And... I don't know, all the characters that I liked in the beginning, that got me kind of hooked on it. You know, like Varys and Littlefinger and Tyrion and, just all of the... I liked all the backstabbing kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All the, master plans, let's see what he's up to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Who's manipulating who kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then when it stopped getting to that and started getting into cliches, I kind of just didn't really care anymore.
Okay.
And maybe if I watched them as the seasons came out, I would have more tolerance for it. But we were watching multiple episodes a day, a week,
Yeah.
So by the time we got to season 8, I'm like, just ready for it to be over, I think.
Yeah. So what I want to start off with is I want to go episode by episode, and I guess Sureyya and I can give our impressions on the episode. I'll say what they're about, what happened. Then you can chime in on the last two, Marty. Also, I mean, the first 4 you could also just say plot-wise why it sounds, how it sounds, even though you didn't watch it. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I created an outline of how I would have written this season personally, very roughly, because I'm not a professional writer. But we'll go more into that later. So episode 1, Winterfell. So I'm going to read the general synopsis here. It was directed by David Nutter.
Wow, okay.
So, upon reaching Winterfell with their combined armies, Jon and Daenerys learn the army of the dead has breached the wall, and the Night King commands the undead Viserion. The northern houses and their allies rally around Winterfell, but distrust Daenerys and doubt Cersei's pledge to send troops. Euron returns to King's Landing with the Golden Company and entices Cersei to consummate their union. On Cersei's orders, Qyburn hires Bronn to assassinate Tyrion and Jaime. Theon rescues Yara, who then sets out to retake the Iron Islands, while Theon returns to Winterfell. At Winterfell, Jon reunites with Bran and Arya and later learns to ride Rhaegal. Sam meets Daenerys, who states that she executed his father and brother. Sam reveals to Jon that he is actually Aegon Targaryen. At House Umber's seat of Last Hearth, Tormund and Beric encounter Ed and other Night's Watch members. They find the castle's occupants dead, and the wight of Ned Umber is left as a gruesome message. Jaime arrives at Winterfell, where Bran awaits him. So that was the first episode. All that took an hour. Sorry, what did you think of the first episode?
I liked it.
Okay.
I thought it was really good. I enjoyed that everyone just finally got back together again after 7 seasons of basically being apart.
Mm-hmm.
It was really heartwarming.
There was a lot of good reunions for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially that the final shot of the episode was Jaime coming to Winterfell and then just like locking eyes with Bran.
Yeah.
And then it just like cut to credits. And
I
thought that was a really great way to end it.
I like how he says waiting for an old friend.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had some issues with the first episode, specifically the scene with Jon and Daenerys when they go dragon riding was very, very long. And then you had like somebody, since you didn't watch it, they go to this waterfall. And they're like holding each other and they're talking about, oh, we could just stay here and nobody would know, and then Jon's like, well, we have duties. Yeah. And then they kiss. And then it does like this comedic shot of like the dragon giving Jon like a, like the angry dad look kind of thing. And I just hated it.
Can I just say, when Jon and Ygritte were a thing, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
They wanted to go into a cave and just never come out.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between Jon and Dany in this season and Ygritte and Jon. Which, okay, I'm going to say right off the top that I did not like this season very much. And because of what I found to be a severe lack of quality writing, I feel like that relationship, there's that mirroring relationship there just because they didn't know how to write a satisfying relationship. Like, it didn't seem purposeful to me, where it was like kind of winking like, oh, see how this is just like Ygritte again. It just kind of felt like, well, it worked when we did it with Ygritte, so let's try it with Daenerys here, even though it's an entirely different character. I don't know. Did you feel that way, or did you? I never bought the romance at all.
I didn't. It didn't feel natural.
Yeah, they had negative chemistry.
Like
they
just had the romance because it was romance. They didn't really hint to it at all.
They had such negative chemistry together that I felt our chemistry going away.
Wow.
It was leeching chemistry away from us.
from like everything I saw, like even in like season 7, developing it, is like it just doesn't make any sense for Daenerys to come around that quickly. You know, the entire Game of Thrones series, she's been all about like even with you know, the past lovers and everything.
Yeah.
I forgot what was
Dario.
Fucking Dario. You know, and she's still like, nope, you know, I'm the one still in charge. I can do whatever I want. And it's like, why is Jon all of a sudden her weakness?
Because he's her nephew. She can smell the Targaryen blood in him.
Yeah. You know, and that's the big thing out of the last couple seasons is just goes right along with that. It feels like everything that happened, I'm just thinking to myself, I don't think that's what the character would do.
Yeah.
Just over and over and over, like all the characters that they developed, they just get rid of 100% of their development for every character.
Yeah. So I think we should move on to episode 2 then. I'm thinking we can kind of do... I want to get to the ones that are a little bit more to talk about to them. Unless you had any closing thoughts on episode 1, Sureyya?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Overall, I thought it was a fine episode.
I really liked it.
It had its moments. Episode 2, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Jaime reveals Cersei's deception to the Targaryen Stark Alliance and joins them after Brienne vouches for his loyalty. Jaime later apologizes to Bran for crippling him. Bran replies he harbors no anger and says they are no longer the same people. Tyrion loses Daenerys' trust for having believed Cersei, prompting Jorah to ask her to forgive Tyrion's mistakes. Citing their mutual love for Jon, Daenerys tries and fails to gain Sansa's trust after refusing to give assurances about the North's fate. Theon, Ed, Tormund, and Beric arrive at Winterfell, with the latter three reporting the undead army's impending arrival. Bran proposes that he lure out the Night King, who wants to destroy the Three-Eyed Raven. The others agree, with Theon and the Ironborn offering Bran protection. Arya seduces Gendry. That's the whole sentence. Jaime formally anoints Brienne as a knight. Jorah fails to dissuade Lyanna Mormont from fighting, and he receives House Tarly's ancestral sword as a gift from Sam. As the army of the dead approaches, Jon reveals his Targaryen lineage to Daenerys. This was my favorite episode of the season by far.
I would also say yes. That was my favorite.
Especially because, and what I find kind of frustrating is that it's also easily the least viewed. Looking at the episode ratings. First one had 11.76 million. This one had 10.29 million. Then 12.02, 11.8, 12.48, 13.61. So it had like at least a million and a half less viewers than the next lowest one. But this one's easily the best because it's all character moments. And it has a lot of really great character moments.
Yes.
And it's funny, but like there's this constant tension to it. Because like you know the battle's coming. And the episode kind of does a good job of sort of setting up suggestions of who's going to die based on like character arcs that all ended up being wrong. You know? Like I myself included, I thought Brienne was going to die. Because I was like, oh, she's knighted, her character arc's done. But, you know, you have so many, like, unique little interactions. Like, there's the part... So, one of the larger scenes is a lot of the characters sitting around a fire just talking the shit because they can't sleep before the battle. Mm-hmm. And, like, Tormund tells the story of why he's why he's called Tormund Giantsbane. Mm-hmm. And it's because he has, like, this horn of milk. And first he tries to get Brienne to fuck him. Because he walks over, he's like, you know, we might die tonight. Maybe we should do something. But then he tells a story about how he's called Giantsbane because when he was a teenager, he killed a giant and then got into bed with the giant's wife. And the giant's wife woke up and then nursed Tormund at her teat for like 3 months. And then he just chugs his milk and it just comes spilling out over his entire beard. It's the most disgusting fucking thing.
Oh my
but it's
God.
great. It's hilarious. There's like great performances. Like I thinking about this episode, I can't think of anything that I would cut.
I honestly don't remember much.
Yeah, I thought it was a great episode. It was really good. Which I also saw after it came out. I was looking at the sort of public reception, at least within my bubble, and I saw a lot of people complaining that it was boring.
They complained about the first and second episodes.
That's always what frustrates me.
Yeah.
Like, why do people just want action and like direct conflict all the time? Like, the real magic of Game of Thrones really came from the character moments and the internal monologues and that sort of thing.
I think there's just an audience out there, especially with how big the show's gotten now, that's just not what they care about. I mean, I watch a lot of Funhouse, and they did their own podcasts talking about it, and one of them came under fire recently because he was talking about how this was his favorite season because he thought that seasons 1 through 6 were all boring, and he wanted to stop watching them. And then he loved 7 and 8 because he was like, this is what I've been waiting for the whole time. It's finally the payoff.
Just the action?
Yeah. Which, to
that
each
was
their
Lawrence,
own.
Wasn't it?
No, it was Bruce.
Oh.
Lawrence doesn't watch the show. But, it's just, I think it's just preference. It just sucks seeing the show lose so much of itself, I think.
Especially after so long.
Yeah.
I feel like since it was the end, the writers were just like, let's quickly get this done so we can stop doing it.
Yeah. So we can go do Star Wars.
They want to go do Star Wars.
Fucking Star Wars! This is why I hate you!
See, I mean, I would jump on the chance to do Star Wars, but I mean, at least just pass the torch off.
Especially since it's rumored they might do Old Republic. I can't be mad if they do Old Republic. Episode 3, The Long Night. The record-setting, longest filmed battle in history. The living army meets the army of the dead outside Winterfell. The initial Dothraki charge is obliterated, and the Unsullied are quickly overwhelmed. Ed is killed while saving Sam. The survivors retreat into the castle as Melisandre ignites the defensive fire trench surrounding Winterfell to delay the advancing horde. Jon and Daenerys engage the Night King on their dragons. The Whites invade Winterfell, overpowering the defenders and killing Lyanna Mormont. Beric dies defending Arya. Jon and Rhaegal knock the Night King off Viserion, and Daenerys burns him with dragonfire, but it has no effect. The Night King then raises slain Winterfell defenders, including the dead entombed in the crypt where the non-combatants are attacked. After Whites pull Daenerys from Drogon, Jorah is fatally wounded defending her. The Night King arrives at the Godswood for Bran and kills Theon. Arya ambushes the Night King, stabbing him with her Valyrian steel dagger. The Night King and his White Walkers shatter, causing Viserion and the Whites to collapse. Her purpose served, Melisandre allows herself to die from old age. So, there's a lot that I like about this episode. There's a lot that I hate.
I don't think I liked much.
The initial Dothraki charge was fucking stupid.
Yeah.
So how that worked, Marty, is they're all waiting. The night army's like far off in the distance.
But let's just say, hold on. You can't even see.
It's a very dark episode. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that when they lit it, and when the cinematographer did his work, because Game of Thrones has a really good cinematographer. Mm-hmm. It's shot like a movie, which looks like shit when then it's compressed for cable and then compressed again for streaming. Mm-hmm. So you cannot see anything for like a majority of it because it's all at night. Mm-hmm. But so the Night King, the White Walker army is off in the distance, and Melisandre comes back and lights all of the swords of the Dothraki on fire. And then they just charge their horses straight forward into the army and just all die. And that's how it starts. It's like, what the fuck were you expecting? Because and it's not even like the rest of the army charges with them. There's no arrows. And so it's like, so were you just hoping, what's the best case scenario there?
You're just hoping to take a chunk out of them or something and just sacrifice all the Dothraki?
Yeah, and then Daenerys fucks up the plan because that pisses her, she hates seeing them go. Mm-hmm. So she ruins it, because originally they're like, all right, Jon and Daenerys are going to be off on a hill with the dragons so that when the Night King comes after Bran, they can surprise him. And she's like, fuck that. Because seeing that. But it's like, what did you expect? You're charging just a group of horsemen into an army that's 20 times the size of your own. Did you think... Where would they go? What's the good scenario there? I mean, it's nonsense.
And that's Daenerys is like... how her character developed. It turned into like, instead of being really calculating and knowing like basically everything,
Yeah.
you know, like always knowing the right thing to do. Instead, she's like, I'm gonna do the opposite of that now.
Well, I feel like Daenerys never knew the right thing, and that's what always frustrated me so much about her was that she was completely impulsive,
Well,
and it just always happened to work.
I guess, yeah, and which I guess it's kind of like poetic, you know, that all of a sudden it's starting to catch up with her. But like, on the other hand, it's like the mistakes are getting stupider and stupider.
Yeah, especially when you're in a planning room with like all of the smartest, most tactically minded people of the entire series.
And you've just been hanging out on this island for a while, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, getting groped by your brother.
Yeah.
And then
Nothing wrong with that.
all of a sudden you're like, now I'm going to go do all this other stuff. And I'm a natural at it. I'm really good at it. I think so. I'm the best.
Let's see, what else is there here? Ed dying was fine, I thought. I don't know how that struck you, Sureyya.
I didn't like it.
No?
Fucking Sam was just sitting there, petrified.
Yeah.
And he's like, Sam, let's go. And that's how he died.
It's
yeah,
okay.
he gets stabbed through the back of the head.
It was all worth it so Sam could say that line at the end.
Everyone should vote for the king. Or
The dragon fight was okay, but you couldn't see what the fuck was happening. There's a weird scene in the middle where, like, Winterfell. I was calling it Whiterun. I was watching Skyrim today. Winterfell is completely overrun by White Walkers. But then they put in this weird moment, because at this point it's been like 30 minutes of nonstop fucking action. They put in this weird scene where, like, Arya is like in a library with like 2 or 3 White Walkers, and she's like stealthing around. And
that
shit.
just reminded me.
It's so weird.
Jurassic Park.
It reminded me of the Resident Evil 2 demo that we played,
Yeah.
where there's like you go into the library and you have to like sneak around all those zombies on the ground floor.
Yeah.
Gonna give it to you. Go ahead.
Give it to you.
But I mean, like, some of the action was really cool when you could see it.
Like what?
The section where Arya was fucking up White Walkers was pretty sweet with her
Oh,
little
yeah.
like spear dagger combo. And another frustrating thing with this episode is it really solidified the feeling of like there not being stakes, because I mean, it's one thing to have, because a lot of people complain about plot armor in these last 2 seasons, and I think sometimes it's not justified. Like in season 7, there's the episode where Jaime charges Daenerys when she's on the dragon, and it breathes fire at him. Bronn tackles him into the water, and he lives. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's plot armor." I didn't find that bad, but in this episode, it's like every single scene of Brienne, she's like gets knocked down and is covered in White Walkers, and is like screaming like she's about to die, and then it cuts. And the next time you see her, she's fine, and it happens again. And it does it with her, it does it with Jaime, it does it with Podrick. Like, it does it for every single character, but, like, nobody dies from it.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else was there? Oh, I really liked the moment when Jon is knocked off a Rhaegal, and he's running at the Night King as he's raising the dead. I thought that was a really sweet moment, because they're, like, I don't know, like 300 yards away or something. And the Night King, like, turns to him and starts, like, raising his arms to raise the dead. And Jon's, like, sprinting. And it does, like, this real long shot as, like, the corpses are starting to get up around him. And it's awesome looking. It's really cool. I liked Jorah dying. Not because I hate Jorah, but because I think that was the perfect time for Jorah to die.
I think so, too.
Because...
He didn't get to see Daenerys become a fucking monster.
Exactly. And I think with his plot arc, he had to have a tragic end. That was, like, somewhat redeeming like that for Daenerys.
Well,
And then he didn't see her turn into a psycho.
You know, especially after the whole arc about him getting, you know, the stone flesh.
Yeah.
You know, and coming back and finally being, like, kind of redeemed.
Yeah.
And able to, like, serve her again.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think that is good in a way, like... that he was killed off, even for his sake.
Yeah.
Because what do you think would have happened to Jorah if he had lived and seen what had happened to, like, you
He
know?
Yeah, I don't know.
definitely
King's
would have
Landing.
tried to talk Daenerys out of
But it wouldn't have
everything
worked.
she did. I don't know.
It never works. Well, Or maybe he would have been the only one that could, which would have been kind of cheesy.
Or maybe she never would have snapped if she still had that support system.
Yeah.
But I think that's the way he kind of had to go out.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And I also liked the redemption of Theon at the end. He's a bit of a badass.
Theon is really sad.
There's this moment where all of the like general White Walkers with like the long hair and stuff, and the Night King just go walking into the Godswood, and it's just Bran and Theon left, and Theon's standing there, and then Bran was like, "Theon, you're a good man," or something, and then Theon runs and the Night King kills him.
I have goosebumps thinking about it.
It's really good. It's really good. Arya killing the Night King was very stupid.
But it was really cool.
Was it?
She fucking came out of nowhere.
But that's why it's stupid.
Oh, I guess.
Because, like, what were the rest of the White Walkers doing? Because she was between the White Walkers and the Night King.
But I think what she did was she became a White Walker herself.
But they didn't show that.
With her. Yeah, but I mean...
If they don't show it, you're making an excuse. If they don't show it, it didn't happen.
But that's her thing, though.
But they don't show it. She doesn't do it this entire season.
Well, no, but she did it when she was Walder Frey.
Well, yeah,
but it's not this season. She never does it. So you can't just say, well, maybe she was a White Walker, because they didn't show that.
Because there were seasons of development for her whole, like, she's a nobody type deal, that could steal faces, and now she's a badass because of it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that again.
Yeah.
But they don't... But... I mean, they don't show her doing it when she becomes Walder Frey.
Yeah,
but they show the reveal.
You see the results of it.
They show her pull the face off. Like, there was no... If she did disguise herself as a White Walker, then they need to show her pull off the White Walker face. So that you're like, okay, that's how she got there. But how it is now, she just comes out of the shadows out of nowhere, and you have no idea where she came from.
And either way, I wouldn't really be able to believe it, even if they did show it. Because I feel like the White Walkers are this, like, kind of almost hive mind type magic force. I feel like they don't just look at someone and go, you look like a White Walker, so I'm not going to... You're probably a White Walker. I'm not. It's
like The Walking Dead. You just have to cover yourself in blood.
I feel like they would just sense it. I mean,
yeah.
That's an assumption, but, like, based on the actions of how the White Walkers behave under the control of the Night King and the generals...
Well, and even moving beyond that of how she killed the Night King, I just don't think it makes sense for Arya to kill the Night King.
That's like that type, because I watched the clip. I've seen it, and that seems more fitting for like if she would have done that to either the Faceless Man or the other woman.
Yeah.
Some kind of more human to human revenge kind of justice thing.
Yeah.
Because that's a little bit more of like you're gonna be sneaky with me and.
Yeah.
Stab you in the stomach.
Well, and even like, because she has no relation to this White Walker threat whatsoever, leading up to this episode. Because even the episode beforehand, right before she fucks Gendry, she's like asking Gendry, what are they like? So leading up to this, she's never even seen a White Walker. Like, whereas Jon has had all these seasons of like trying to stop it, building up to stop it. Like there's so many other characters, even like Beric could have done it. Like there's so many other characters that have some sort of connection, at least, to the threat of the White Walkers, and Arya just doesn't at all. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Sureyya? Because I feel like you liked this part of Arya killing the Night King, right?
Yeah, but I can see where you guys are coming from.
But so it didn't stand out as weird to you? Like it was just an exciting moment? Because it does a really good job of building up the tension and the suspense right before she does it.
I'm trying to play that scene through my head, and it shows. I remember right before she pops out of the shadows, like there was one of the White Walker. I think it was a general with the long white hair.
Yeah.
He's standing with the rest of them, and all of a sudden, like a wisp of wind comes rushing by his hair, and you see his hair float.
Yeah.
So I assume that's Arya.
Yeah.
So that means she's just fucking invisible.
Or real famous.
Or maybe she was just like running off camera, I guess.
But it made it seem like she was invisible because it was super close to him. Because you see his hair flow. So I don't know.
I feel like she can't be invisible.
No.
That's some Harry Potter shit.
I swear to God, if you watch it, though...
I believe you. I'm just saying that...
You gotta watch that scene.
Yeah.
Because I swear it shows a side view of him and his hair blowing in the wind.
Okay. I don't know. I don't remember it well enough. This was a long time ago. That was like a month ago already.
Stop.
Alright, episode 4, The Last of the Starks. Once again directed by David Nutter. The survivors mourn and burn the dead. Daenerys legitimizes Gendry as a Baratheon, naming him Lord of Storm's End. Arya declines Gendry's marriage proposal. Jaime and Brienne become lovers. To protect her claim to the throne, Daenerys wants Jon to conceal his true parentage. Bronn arrives to kill Jaime and Tyrion for Cersei, but spares them in exchange for being promised Highgarden Castle. Jon reveals his Targaryen claim to Sansa and Arya, swearing them to secrecy. And wanting Jon as king, Sansa tells Tyrion, who informs Varys. Arya and the Hound head for King's Landing, bent on revenge. Tormund returns north with the wildlings, taking Ghost at Jon's request. Daenerys and her fleet set sail for King's Landing, while Jon leads the northern army. At Dragonstone, Euron's navy ambushes her fleet, killing Rhaegal with ship-mounted scorpions. Missandei is taken hostage. Daenerys considers seizing King's Landing... God, I cannot talk. Daenerys considers seizing King's Landing using Dragonfire. Varys and Tyrion debate whether Jon would be a better ruler than Daenerys. Jaime feels compelled to return to Cersei, despite Brienne's plea that he stay. Cersei defiantly refuses Daenerys' demand to surrender and has Missandei beheaded before an enraged Daenerys and Grey Worm. What'd you think of episode 4, Sureyya?
I don't...
I remember you being properly shooketh from the untimely death of Rhaegal.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. And it was so violent and so fast. And just... It did shooketh me.
I feel like I'm the only person in existence, aside from maybe you, that just has no connection to these dragons.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about the dragons.
It did not bother me watching them. I mean, it was like, that sucks for them, but like, I wasn't like, oh my god, my babies, like so many people were.
Well, I think you and I are much lesser fans of Daenerys in general than most people.
That's true.
I'm not a fan of Daenerys.
But you have like a dragon fetish.
I don't. It's not a dragon fetish. I just really, 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 really like dragons.
You're like a dragon furry.
They're so fucking cool.
But for Marty and I, who do not have a dragon fetish, and who I never really liked Daenerys at all.
No, she's probably like even in this like earlier seasons, her plot to me was like the least interesting.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get back to fucking Littlefinger and Varys.
So is there anything you liked in this episode, Sarah? Episode 4. I liked...
I don't remember anything from these last episodes.
I liked the opening with all the dead. They just had like rows and rows and rows.
That was really somber
of pyres
and
where they
depressing.
burned them.
Yeah, I did like the beginning.
I liked kind of like the feast afterwards. I thought there were some good character moments. There was also a really bad character moment where they're playing Tyrion's game and he guesses that Brienne's a virgin.
Oh.
And she gets all embarrassed when like...
And then fucking Jaime goes after her.
Well, and it's just...
Fuck.
And it's such a stupid scene because she's a lady. She's royalty.
Yeah.
And so, in medieval times, if you're a lady and you're not married, you're supposed to be a virgin.
Yep.
Yes.
But then she gets like all embarrassed about it. Like it didn't fit.
Especially because she's they build her up as such an independent, like, I don't give a fuck, I don't need anybody type character. Like, she only lives to serve, basically.
Yeah.
I feel like that doesn't...
Character development.
Goodbye, character development. I don't like you anyway.
I did like the sex scene with Jaime and Brienne, though. I thought that was really well done. Where they're both, like, it's super awkward, and neither one of them really wants to, like, be vulnerable like that in front of the other one.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. I liked that Podrick got a 3-way.
With who?
Just like two random Winterfell wenches.
Yeah, he would.
Like he's about to bane one, and then one wants to bane the Hound, and the Hound literally growls at her. And you see Podrick in the background walking up with both of them.
Mr. Big Dick.
Podrick and his magic cock. I liked the interaction of Tormund and the Hound. I thought that was cool.
I don't remember.
Where after Jaime, because when Brienne storms off, Tormund goes to go after her, and then Jaime stops Tormund and goes after him. And so there's a short scene where Tormund sits down. He's like sitting down with the Hound, and he's completely shit-faced. And he's like, "My heart's broken, Clegane." And he's just like pouring himself out to the Hound, and the Hound just does not give a shit whatsoever.
Well, the Hound is the perfect guy to talk about that stuff with, because he's not going to have a conversation and try and convince you of anything.
He's so empathetic. And then Tormund fucks some Winterfell wench, and he's fine. I also like Tormund going back to the north. Being like, well, I don't give a shit about any of this now. I'm out.
Yeah.
Jon leaving Ghost was really stupid, though, and was clearly just to save on the CGI budget.
Everyone hated that.
Yeah.
Everyone bitched
Especially
about
because
that.
he didn't pet him. Missandei getting taken hostage, I have some issues with.
Yeah, all she did was fall off the boat.
Well, and because...
And like,
So the whole thing with the boats is done. That it was a surprise, and that they got, like, 4 super accurate shots off and nailed Rhaegal.
It's
to
a
shit.
surprise, just like the other 4 surprises with their ships.
Pretty much. Daenerys kind of forgot about his fleet. But my other problem with taking Missandei is because they fuck up the entire fleet with these scorpions. In this fleet is Tyrion, Varys, Grey Worm, and Missandei. Of those 4 people, why the fuck do you take Missandei? She's nobody. She's just a friend.
Yeah.
Like, you could take the hand of Queen Daenerys, her general, or her other great advisor, Master of Whispers. But you take the slave girl that's just her BFF?
You know, and the only reason in my eyes that that happened to her, you know, her plot like ended like that,
Yeah.
was just to give Daenerys another reason to say, like, to snap, and another reason for Grey Worm to snap.
Yeah.
You know, that's it.
Should we move on to episode 5? Alright, episode 5, The Bells.
I watched this one.
Oh, I did like, though, in episode 4. I did like Tyrion and Varys talking about Jon being king instead of Daenerys. Mm-hmm. That scene felt very old Game of Thrones to me, and I liked it. Except for Tyrion being an idiot, because they don't know how to write Tyrion. Yep. Anyways, episode 5. Varys urges Jon to advance his claim, but the latter refuses to betray Daenerys. After learning of Varys' plot from Tyrion, Daenerys has Drogon burn Varys. Jaime is captured, but Tyrion releases him so he can persuade Cersei to surrender the city, then escape Westeros together. Jaime, Arya, and the Hound each infiltrate King's Landing. Dragonborn Daenerys destroys the Iron Fleet and most of the city's defenses, allowing her army to enter. Cersei's forces are quickly overwhelmed and the city signals its surrender, but an enraged Daenerys indiscriminately begins leveling the city, burning soldiers and civilians. The allied army follows her lead, slaughtering all in their path, horrifying Tyrion and Jon. Jaime kills Euron, but is mortally wounded. The Hound convinces Arya to abandon her long-time vendetta and save herself, then fights the Mountain. The brothers ultimately perish after falling from a tower into flames. Cersei and Jaime reunite, but are killed as the Red Keep collapses atop them. Jon calls for a retreat as frantic civilians flee the devastation. Arya barely survives. What did you guys think of The Bells?
We'll start with why Arya and the Hound. I mean, I understand why the Hound wanted to go.
Yes.
You know, because he wanted to go after his brother, basically. That's kind of what it ended up being, the motive. Why did Arya want to go kill Cersei so bad? I understand that that was her thing, but does that really seem like the time? Especially since the plan was that, you know, they would surrender?
Well, I think Arya wasn't in on the plan that they would surrender. Mm-hmm. She didn't hold like any position whatsoever. And she's never in any of the planning scenes.
So she's always just been hanging out and she's making her own plan. I'm going to go kill Cersei.
Well, and I think her sort of justification for it is that she wants to be the one to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, because even when the Hound's telling her to go away, you know, and he's like, fuck it, like, something will kill her, let it go.
Yeah.
She's still like, no, I want to do it. Like, she's on my list, I have to kill her.
Yeah, which, I mean, Arya's still one of my favorite characters, I think. Like, her character arc was probably one of the most interesting to me. But the part about maybe almost any type of, action drama, whatever, is like that type of determination at the end to just not say like, yeah, something else will get her. Maybe I should focus on important things. Like I could just never get behind that type of a pointless vendetta.
Yeah.
Because before on her list, she was out in the wilderness by herself. Like that was her driving force that kept her alive, I think.
Yeah.
And then at that point she was fine. She had everything again. She had her family back.
Yeah.
She had like a life. And she became, instead of being just a nobody in, Bravos or whatever.
Yeah.
She was Arya Stark again. And then she's like, no, I'm still going to do the list.
Well, I feel like she never wanted the family and stuff. Like, I don't think she ever really wanted that. I think she still was all about the revenge.
But it's not about what she necessarily... It's... So many of these characters are just so driven by, like, I really want this, that they just don't think about the practicalities of things. You know what I mean? Which I understand. It's a fucking action drama.
Yeah.
But, like, it just makes it hard to really get behind for me sometimes.
You're just not passionate enough, Marty.
I guess. I'm like...
You know how many burning buildings I've gone into to kill people?
Yeah, it's like, focus on the important shit. You
Yeah.
know? Like, it doesn't mean you can't have, action.
Yeah.
Or, like, vengeance or anything. It's just... I don't know.
Sureyya, anything from episode 5 stick out to you?
I called the hound pushing the mountain off the tower and falling into the fire.
You did.
Harry Potter
Like-
style.
How'd you guys like the Clegane Bowl?
It's fucking dumb.
You didn't like it?
No.
Why?
Well, because it was super cliche.
I thought it was really cool, but I kind of wish they got a little more personal with it. It was their final confrontation, and all they do is just beat the shit out of each other. Like, it would have been nice if there was a little bit of, like, some kind of development between them in a way.
And can I just say that the mountain didn't look at all like the mountain?
Well, he was a zombie, so...
Yeah, but
I think it is a different actor.
he doesn't look like the mountain at all.
Yeah. I think they switched actors.
Yeah. They could have done a better job covering that up.
You want them to do a better job? Look what they fucking did to Dario. He's completely different.
I think that was an improvement for Dario, though.
Oh, it easily was. But
The first one was like some Fabio motherfucker.
They clearly don't give a shit.
But, yeah, I didn't like it.
No?
No. I just thought it was super textbook.
Yeah. I liked it. I'll go on record. I liked the Clegane Bowl.
It would have been interesting if the mountain showed a little bit of humanity for the first time in how long? Just a touch, but then it's gone. You know what I mean?
Well, what I kind of liked about it was just how, Sureyya, you were talking about how generic it is, and it is pretty generic, and by the books. But I liked just how it was just so brutal.
Oh yeah.
It was like just two rocks hitting each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially when the mountain was just just started out just by picking him up and fucking throw him into the wall, pick him up, throw him into the wall.
And then there's the part where he's got the hound up and he's just stabbing him, he's just yelling fucking die. And it's just, I feel like it's such a perfect I felt like it really matched those characters really well.
True.
Of that sort of fighting style where because the hound's he's not a swordsman. He's just a brute. And as far as the mountain being so inhuman, I almost like that. I like that too because it reads better to me as sort of what he's become to the hound.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he's not a dude anymore.
No,
he hasn't been for seasons. You know, he is just like this disgusting manufactured husk.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that's what the hound needs to confront more than anything else.
Which is good from the hound's perspective, but they hinted almost at the mountain still having a touch of his memory and humanity in there, at least in his recognition of the hound and his anger towards him.
Yeah.
That it was just there enough where I feel like it was missing something, but it had to be something really subtle, but it wasn't there. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you. But
Sureyya, you were about to say something?
Why the fuck did he end up not obeying Cersei?
That's what I'm saying. You
Yeah,
know?
I think the only excuse would be that he recognized the Hound, but that's really stupid. That part is very stupid. However,
I love how he kills Kyber.
I was just about to say him killing Qyburn's one of the
That
best
was
parts of
fucked
the
up.
whole season.
Kyber's just this conniving, like, I'm always going to weasel my way in, and he's just like, fuck you. Slams
Into
his head
the
into
rock.
it.
His whole back of his head just explodes. It's also stupid how, like, he takes a step forward and Cersei's like, stay by my side. And it's like, don't you want him to fucking protect you? Like, you don't know what the Hound's doing. The Hound could be there to kill you. He's got to go fight him.
Yeah.
Which also didn't make much sense. But,
I think she was just scared.
yeah.
Like, all she really had at that point was the mountain, considering the Hound fucking killed every single one of her other gods.
Sorry, do you want to say something else about it?
No, I just fucking Cersei.
So what did you guys? Speaking of Cersei, she sucks this season because she doesn't.
She doesn't do anything.
She doesn't suck. The writers for her sucked because she doesn't do anything.
She just broods.
Yeah. What do you guys think of her and Jaime's death, being crushed by the Red Keep?
I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I wanted something more violent to happen to her.
I get why they did it, because they kept kind of foreshadowing, like, everything falling down around her. But, and, her and Jaime dying in each other's arms, it's like, okay. Yeah, I get why they did it. I totally do. But I have to say, I did like how she kind of was almost the most human that she ever really was.
Right at the end.
Right at the end. Where she was genuinely just scared and showed it.
Yeah.
Because, she's been overwhelmed before, but always had kind of a stone face about it.
Yeah.
So it's I liked seeing her kind of break a little bit. But, I don't know, it seemed just kind of like a cheap death,
Yeah.
Which, because she was just alone, no one knew she died, really. She just kind of was off in the background, no one was paying any attention to her. She wasn't important anymore, which is, again, poetic in a way, but after all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
like, it would have been nice to have more interactions at the very end, instead of just her being alone with Qyburn, and then Qyburn dying, and then, the mountain leaves her, and then it's just Jaime, like, there's nothing else.
Yeah. So the 2 last things I want to talk about this episode. Sureyya, how'd you feel about Varys' death right at the start of the episode?
I really fucking hated Tyrion for it.
You've ratting him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? I think that's where I started really seeing that they wrote Tyrion really badly in this season.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know.
It's painful to have to make you sit through this podcast because I can tell how sad you are about these last 2 episodes.
It was very anticlimactic for me.
Yeah. I did sort of like how subtle it was about Varys trying to poison Daenerys. Like, I thought that was kind of cool when the girl comes in, she's like, oh, she's not eating. I like that scene. The rest of it I hated. I was just about to say what I would have liked to have happened, but that's in my outline, so I'll save that for later. The last, or did you have anything to say about Varys?
Well, again, but with, like, Tyrion's reaction to him, because Tyrion's always been, in a way, trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Even if it might not necessarily feel right in the moment.
Yeah.
And so far, he's had a pretty good sense of what the reality of the situation is.
Yeah.
And this is the one time he's just, like, totally wrong. And, like, he has the most blatant facts staring in his face for the first time in the entire series.
Yeah.
And this is the one time that he's like, no, everything's fine. I have to stand by this one thing. Even though he's been the one to abandon what he originally thought was right.
Yeah, he's been smart enough to learn. Like, they even make a big deal of it this season where they're like, where Jorah goes to Daenerys and like, he learns really well. And that's hard to find, but he just doesn't here.
Yeah, and it's such a shame because especially after all the build-up with Varys, and you would think that he would start to develop some trust in Varys too. Because the whole deal was that Varys was the one person Tyrion could trust. And he said that.
Yeah.
And now he's just like, no, I don't trust you, Varys.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been nice to see him almost like finally listen to someone else's plan instead of trying to do it himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but oh well.
I think these last two episodes really go with the whole trying not to be a cliche.
Subverting expectations.
Yeah.
Which is a big trend that I've been seeing come up more with film and television.
I fucking hate it.
I really hate it too. Because there's something to be said that, yes, subverting expectations can be good.
But when you're doing it with like every single season, just over and over with major things.
Well, and not only that, but the other thing is that it needs to make sense. And I think the other big one that really did it very poorly was The Last Jedi. Where it's like that, and in this season of Game of Thrones, they care so much about shocking you that they just lie. Right? Where they're setting it up, and you're like, okay, this makes sense, this feels right. Naturally, it's going to lead to this. But then it just does something completely out of nowhere that you never could have predicted.
Yeah.
It's like M. Night Shyamalan, right? Where it's like, he has this big twist, and he's like, haha, look how fucking stupid you are, I got you. But it's like, you're cheating, because you're not giving me all the information.
Right, I think it's a good thing to try and subvert expectations if it's done right. Like, leave clues. We're watching it a second time, you can see the build up to that. So that way you can say like, oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
If I would have paid more attention, I might be able to put the clues together. But so many things nowadays are just like shock for the sake of shock, and you don't get that trail of breadcrumbs leading to it.
Yeah. And that was one of the best things about Game of Thrones was like, you had like the Red Wedding, right?
Yeah.
Super shocking when you first watch it. But when you go back, it all makes sense.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, here's where Rob fucked up. You could clearly tell that this is where it went wrong. Here's the consequence now. And it's just not here. And it's so annoying and it's so frustrating when it's just...
Well, it's frustrating
just
because they could do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we've already seen they're better.
Yeah. Alright, on to episode 6, The Iron Throne. Following the battle, the Unsullied execute captured soldiers upon Daenerys' orders. Tyrion finds Jaime and Cersei dead in the ruins. Daenerys rallies the Unsullied in Dothraki, declaring she will lead them to liberate the entire world. Tyrion denounces her and resigns his hand, then is imprisoned for treason to await execution. Arya and Tyrion separately warn Jon that Daenerys is a threat to him and House Stark. Jon confronts Daenerys and, unable to halt her destructive path, kills her. Drogon melts the Iron Throne, then carries Daenerys' body away. Tyrion proposes that all future monarchs be chosen by Westerosi leaders, rather than through familial succession. Bran Stark is proclaimed king, titled Bran the Broken. He grants Sansa the North's secession as an independent kingdom and appoints Tyrion as his hand. Jon is sentenced to the Night's Watch to appease the Unsullied, who then set sail for Noth, Missandei's homeland. Tyrion reorganizes the small council, Brienne, Bronn, Davos, and Sam, to rebuild King's Landing. Podrick is knighted. Sansa is crowned queen in the north. Arya sets sail to explore west of Westeros. Jon rejoins Tormund and goes to Castle Black, leading the wildlings north of the Wall. End series.
I'll start.
Do you want to pause or something?
No.
Oh, just stretch it.
Yeah.
I kind of like how Daenerys did end up being like all the other Targaryens. I hate how they did it, but I kind of like what the end result was.
Yeah, I mean, I've been rooting for that for years now. But yeah, just the way they did it, it's just nonsensical.
But just looking at the end as that's the one picture you get.
Yeah.
I kind of actually like how everything turned out. I don't like how it got there, but I can kind of settle with how things ended up.
I don't like Bronn as king, or Bran.
Bran, yeah.
It's I just not their justification for it just doesn't.
No,
make sense
I guess not so much him, but the rest of the characters. I'm like, what became of everybody?
Jon, I like. Sansa's fine. Arya, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But she's kind of a hard character to end in a way that's not death, I think.
Yeah.
Drogon fucking off is fine. Tyrion being handed the king is fine. Sorry, what did you think about this one?
I wish Sansa didn't become queen.
Why is that?
Because in a way, it's basically what she wanted throughout the entire show.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like there was always a part of her that was still just self-serving herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want her to get that satisfaction.
See, I feel like that's true, but the experience she had, like being tossed around with Littlefinger and all that, she kind of saw the reality of, you know,
What it takes.
of politics and how to lead and what not to do. And even if she wanted it, you know, and she thought she was the best at the job, I feel like she actually was the most qualified to do it. You know, and I think because of those experiences and that confidence, I feel like she is probably the best ruler to have for the North because she was competent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see it.
You know, when she's like feuding with John and everything, it's like she
Yeah.
is kind of, yeah, she shouldn't have, you know, like contradicted him in front of everybody.
Yeah.
But she was right for the most part, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of a Sansa.
I think it stems from her kind of basically starting all of it with her love for Joffrey. You
So
know?
you're still holding on to your like season 1 and 2 Sansa
Yeah.
hate.
Yeah. Because I mean, a lot of what she did in the earlier seasons is what fucked everyone else over.
Yeah, but it's those experiences, and because I think she, you know, she knows what she did, you know, and I feel like she's aware of it. And I feel like those experiences would give her the perspective to actually be an effective, you know, politician.
I just, for once, I didn't want her to get what she wanted.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like throughout the entire show, she was always getting what she wanted.
Well-
Like she got Joffrey, even though he was a fucking monster. You know, she went to King's Landing.
Yeah.
She
No.
got away.
I think you're justified. Totally. But
She took back Winterfell. And then she wanted the North to be its own kingdom, and she got that too.
that was weird.
Well, that whole end bit, we don't talk about that bit.
That was very stupid. Her being able to just be like, now the North's not up for
Yeah,
it.
and now everybody's agreeing with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, especially when 2 seconds earlier, Yara's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
You know.
So one of the other issues I have is the small console.
I don't want Bronn on the small count.
Bronn being the master of coin makes no fucking sense.
It's fucking dumb.
Also, we did not touch on the stupidness that was him threatening Jaime and Tyrion.
Oh yeah.
That completely came out of nowhere and did not fit his character development whatsoever. But nobody's
fucking
character
stupid.
development mattered. But him being the hand of king or the master of coin is really stupid, especially when he's like, "Well, we got to rebuild brothels before ports." And I, Marty, you said a joke that I thought really summed up that scene well, where it was just like playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
It's
where
like-
he's the rogue that's just like chaotic neutral, you know. And
He's the Sureyya character.
Shut up.
but no, they ham-fisted his character so much at the end. They're like, remember, Bronn's always been that kind of rough kind of guy like that.
Yeah.
Let's just throw it in everybody's faces. Look, he's still the same old wacky guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. Sir Davos, I think, is good for the small council. I think he definitely deserves to be there.
I agree.
Brienne, I'm not digging.
What did she really do? You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you could maybe say that Tyrion appointed her because he knew about her and Jaime, and he did it for Jaime, kind of. That'd be the only.
I feel like that's a little.
That's the only thing that I could
far-fetched.
think of.
Especially because, like, they basically threw that away when Jaime went back to Cersei.
Yeah, but then they
Also-
didn't, because then she went and updated his book
Yeah.
and was like, "Oh, I still love him." And it's like,
Also,
I don't know.
what about Jaime's fucking character progression?
oh, that was completely fucked.
Well, like what? What?
They were
Yeah.
doing so good, too.
Oh yeah,
Like, he was one of my favorite characters. Like,
he was my favorite. I think at the start of the season, especially at the end of season 7, when Sureyya and I watched that episode, I was so fucking hyped that he left Cersei, because I liked how he was always morally gray, but like how they tried to keep him gray here just did not fucking work at all. It
They
didn't
had
make
him.
sense.
They had him be gray by going full white, full black, full white, full black.
Yeah,
You know, and then the averaging out to being
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle. No.
yeah.
Who else
Yeah.
is left?
I think that was pretty much everything. Oh, John killing Daenerys was stupid.
You called that from.
Yeah. Again, I wanted it. I expected it to happen. I hate how they did it.
Oh.
Like they tried to make it like Shakespearean almost, with like the kiss and then the stab and then the two poetic trails of blood down the side of her face. And it just does not feel like Game of Thrones. And then Drogon fucking melting the throne is the stupidest goddamn thing, except it's not, because Sam bringing out a Song of Ice and Fire and saying Tyrion isn't even fucking in it. The dude that was a hand for like 3 different fucking kings, including the one that won, isn't in the history book. He defended King's Landing. How is he not in the book?
Because he's a fucking imp. That's why.
Oh, I hated it so much. It was so stupid. It was such a cheap... That whole fucking small council scene sucked.
I feel like I missed something too. What happened to Gilly?
She got pregnant with Sam's kid and then she never popped up again. Also, during the Battle of Winterfell, what the fuck was with Bran warging into the crows? He does nothing this entire season. Because there's the part when he's in the Godswood and he goes into a flock of crows and he controls them upwards.
Yeah.
And the camera follows them and they fly past the Night King.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that'll be interesting.
They're off to do something conniving, you know?
Yeah, and then just nothing happens with it. And then also before the Battle of Winterfell, Tyrion asks Bran about his story. And he's like the first fucking person to talk to him about it. And so you would think that would somehow reincorporate into the series, but all it reincorporates into is Tyrion being like, he has a good story, he should be king.
I forgot that they didn't even show that conversation. That would have been such a good conversation to show.
They didn't show that conversation. They didn't show the conversation of Jon revealing who he actually is to Sansa and Arya.
Oh,
Like they would set up
such good shit.
They would set up good conversations and then be like, nah, you can imagine.
Because they got fucking lazy.
They were like, how are we gonna write that? Never mind.
It's interesting how Jon's like still totally fine with like banging his aunt. And after he knows, he's like, yeah, it's fine.
To be fair, he's not. There's multiple scenes where she wants to, and he's like,
yeah. But Daenerys is like, yeah, it's fine.
Well,
she's also crazy.
Well, and
And also, like, she was raised around that.
Yeah,
that's true, I guess.
She was raised with that incestuous.
And that's they did bring that up in one of the post-episode interviews, where they were talking about how she's fine with it because like that's just what Targaryens do. She always heard about it growing up.
Well, and like Missandei was talking about it too.
Yeah,
you know.
So it's like it's not as much of a culture shock for her, which I was fine with that.
Yeah, I get it. That makes more sense.
This is why incest doesn't work.
Until it does.
Except for Jon, the last one. He was all about that, and then he's like, poke.
Oh, I also hated how they had Tyrion say he loved Daenerys. Because, like, they hint at it at the end of Season 7 during the boat sex, where, like, they show his face.
Oh.
But then, like, when he's talking to Jon this time, he's like, I loved her too. And it's like, why does everybody fucking have to love Daenerys?
Because
I like
she's a
romantically.
Strong female character.
Fucking psycho.
Just to make it work in my head, I like to think that Tyrion was referencing, or he really liked the idea that was Daenerys Targaryen.
Which I would be okay with, except for he says not as successfully as you.
Yeah.
Which heavily implies I also wanted to fuck Daenerys.
Well, exactly.
And that's why I stopped whoring around. Anyways, closing thoughts, Season 8, then we're going to try and fix it real quick. Sureyya, what would you rate Game of Thrones Season 8? You know what? I'm going to give you guys both some time to think, because here's what I want to do. I want to rate Seasons 1 through 7 as one block, and then Season 8.
Yeah.
I give Season 1 through 7 like an 8.
An 8?
8 to a 9.
Okay.
Or 1 through 7. Yeah, did I say 1 through 7?
Yep.
1 through 7 and 8 to a 9.
And what would you give up Season 8?
I think I'd give Season 8 like a 7.
Still a 7. That's pretty good.
I
mean, you did like 4 of the 6 episodes, so that does make sense.
Well, I liked the first episode. I really liked the second episode. I didn't like the Battle of Winterfell. What was the 4th episode? That's where Missandei dies, right?
Missandei and Viserion.
Rhaegal.
Or Rhaegal. Oh, that's so fucking good.
I would say that I thought episode 4 was like okay to like for me. Episode 5, I would give. Is that the one I thought that was? It started off shitty and then it got better for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then episode 6 was like an okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd give it like
A 7?
6.5 to 7.
Okay. Marty, what about you?
I want to say maybe seasons 1 through 6, and then 7, and then 8.
That's also what I was going to do.
Because 1 through 6 is probably an 8 for me. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
I was getting really into it. And then 7 started to break it a little bit for me. But it was still like, there was still some good character development, some plot being built. And then season 8, I only watched episodes 4 and 5, or 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And I would give them like a 5, 6.
Okay.
Because they were still like, and that's only for the story. The rest of it, like,
Technically, they're super well done.
exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Like, the acting's still really good. Still, like, as far as like, you know, there's still believable performances, even if their characters aren't what you.
I feel like that's what's so frustrating about it is it's so clear that everybody else cares so much and loves it so much except for the writers.
Yeah, you know, it's because you can see that the actors are so attached to their characters. And I mean, you've seen the interviews and stuff and what's happening to all the actors
Kit
afterwards.
Harington's in rehab because he doesn't want to stop.
Yeah, you know, and it's.
Did you also hear about him and Longclaw?
Oh yeah.
Where he asked, did you hear about this, Rhea?
No.
Kit Harington asked HBO if he could keep
Longclaw?
one of the 2 Longclaws that they used for filming, and HBO said no.
Oh!
Yeah.
Why?
I'm assuming because either they want to auction it or do a museum.
I mean, there's already
That's what I would
pieces
say.
like getting
But-
put out to museums and
That's
stuff.
why you have 2.
Well, because the one was the sharpened one, like for like the ceremonial scenes and stuff, and then
One
there's
for the action.
yeah. But
Yeah,
whatever.
I feel so bad for Kit.
You know, and that's the thing. I mean, this was, you know, a lot of the characters meant so much to these people,
Yeah.
and you could see that they kind of were hurt by throwing it away.
Yeah.
Like, even in the acting, and you know, graphically it looked great.
Oh.
Like I loved watching the dragons burn the city.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so everything else about it was fantastic, aside from like the fact that they basically ruined what we thought the characters were.
Yeah. I think for me, season 1 through 6 would be a 9 as a collective. Because even other like epic television series, you know, like Sopranos. I feel like there's just something about Game of Thrones that's just insanely big.
Yeah.
It's unique.
It's because it's such a world that you feel like you're part of.
Yeah. And then season 7, I put it at a 5. Because it got to the point where it's hard to care once you get halfway through. And then this season, I'd probably give a 3 or a 4.
Yeah.
The only thing keeping it from like a 1 or a 2 is how technically great it is.
Everything but the writing.
Yeah, well, I care a lot about writing, as someone who likes to write.
Right.
I care too.
So that just really, really fucks it up for me, and I think that's why it's for me so low.
Well, because it disintegrates the entire world that we've built in our heads for how long.
Yeah. So I want to read you guys my outline. That's not completely complete, but that's fine.
Cool.
I'm gonna try and do this quick because
Yeah.
we're hitting some time here.
And I am sweating my balls off right now.
Yeah, it's really hot. It's really hot in sunny, breezy Wisconsin. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 1. Jamie arrives in Winterfell. I'd open with that. Danny and Army arrive in Winterfell.
You mean episode 1, right?
Yeah, episode 1. Did I say season 1?
Yeah.
Episode 1. Oh, also, I should say, so I limited myself to not only not undoing anything done in season 7, but also sticking with 6 episodes. Which sucked.
Yeah.
Because it's way too short.
I know.
I think it's impossible.
They should have done the full fucking season.
But goddamn it, did I try.
All right, let's hear it.
So Jamie arrives in Winterfell. Danny and her army arrive in Winterfell. Jon has a reunion with Arya, Bran, and Sam. Tyrion and Sansa have their little reunion. Theon rescues Yara. Euron and Cersei talk and bone. Tormund, Beric, Ed, and the Hound talk at Last Hearth. It gets attacked. They flee. Kind of like how it happened, but they actually see the combat. Cersei talks to Qyburn about their army size. Like real granular strategy stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, these are mostly plot points. Sansa, Dany, Tyrion, Jon, Lady Mormont, Varys, and Davos discuss Edmure Tully and Robin Arryn not sending troops as well as their defense strategy. The Night King's army arrives outside Winterfell. That would be the end of episode 1. Episode 2 is the Battle of Winterfell. During the Battle of Winterfell, Podrick dies from inexperienced fighting. He gets swarmed in front of Brienne. Brienne cannot save him. Jorah dies for Dany. Lyanna Mormont dies. Theon dies for Bran. Grey Worm dies in a heroic stand, but kills the White Walker dragon. That's like his big heroic outing as he kills the dragon.
Okay, keep going.
And then Ed also dies for Sam.
Okay.
Survivors retreat south as Winterfell burns. All the thousands of peasants and northern soldiers, Dothraki, Unsullied, die. Cersei discusses the failure with Qyburn and Euron, has Euron attack fleeing ships of Yara's that are fleeing with northern refugees. A few of Yara's ships barely survive, and with those they take the Iron Islands while Euron is distracted. Sam tells Jon his heritage at Bran's behest. Tyrion asks Bran to tell him his story. That's what I would have be episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's episode 2 only?
That's episode 2.
Fuck.
So some big changes here. One, Podrick dying. I really like Podrick, but I thought that the Battle of Winterfell really needed some weight, and Podrick being
The most inexperienced.
the most inexperienced, so it's the most logical that he dies.
And the most likable.
The most likable, but also the least important to what happens the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And it could give more development for Brienne.
Yes. The other big thing is them losing the Battle of Winterfell. I thought that was important, so that the Night King actually felt intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And Cersei could have done something more.
Yeah.
I think.
Also, Grey Worm killing the White Dragon. I wanted that in there so that you didn't have to keep dealing with the White Dragon at every battle, because he kind of breaks everything.
Yeah.
And then I also thought it would be a really great end for Grey Worm to die for Daenerys, kind of like Jorah did. Because he sort of set up, much like Jorah, about this redeemed martyr figure who would do anything for Daenerys. So I thought it would be nice to have both of them. You could kind of shoot it like going back and forth as they're both sort of dying in their final stand for Daenerys, make it an emotional moment for her. On to episode 3. So Northerners open with Northerners at a camp discussing where to go. They decide on claiming Highgarden. The Golden Company arrives at King's Landing. Dany and Jon argue about wasting her men in a pointless fight in the north. Arya and Hound sneak out of camp to head to King's Landing. Brienne and Jaime have a romantic moment. Sansa leaves to talk to Robb and Arryn. Varys talks to Tyrion about Dorne, and Tyrion brings up Edmure Tully again. Gendry leaves to rally the Baratheon bannermen after Dany names him a true Baratheon, much like he did in the actual season. Jon talks to Dany about heritage. Dany breaks down and is furious and yells at him, and then they split. Not like break up, but they separate.
Yeah.
White Walkers continue moving south after raising the dead at Winterfell. So that's my episode 3. Episode 4. Arya and the Hound camping outside King's Landing talk about revenge and a little small talk. Sansa meets with Robb and Arryn to gain his aid. Just like a small scene showing her arriving in the Vale. Cersei and Qyburn discuss how to stop Dany. They begin burning villages and towns that have pledged allegiance to Dany to get people to not want to join her. Dany impulsively extends outside of Highgarden against Tyrion's wishes, despite so many of her supporters being gone. It's a trap, and Euron kills Viserion. So that's where Viserion dies now.
You mean Rhaegal?
Rhaegal. I wrote down the wrong one. I always get the dragons mixed up. So I thought that, I'll come back to that. Varys sends a mysterious letter that it's not clear who to. Sansa manipulates Robin to pledge to help Dany's cause. Edmure arrives, but refuses to help. But he isn't like 100% sure. He's kind of like wishy-washy on the idea still. And so Dany kills him brutally. And then Missandei and Dany grieve over the death of Grey Worm. And then end the episode with White Walkers being near King's Landing.
Okay.
So the big ones on that, I wanted to have Viserion die again. Still. Rhaegal. I still have Viserion written down. I wanted Rhaegal to die, but I thought this was a better way to have it. Again, going back to mistakes. So I thought it made more sense if Dany made a real tangible mistake of reacting to like just the little attacks by Euron and overextending rather than her just forgetting that he has this fleet of ships.
Yeah.
So that was episode 4. And then episode 5 and episode 6 I did not have completely fleshed out. But what I wanted, core-wise, was episode 5 would be a 3-way battle at King's Landing.
Between...
Cersei's army would start fighting the Night King.
Okay.
And then Jon would convince Dany that that's their best chance to kill the White Walkers, is to go in and also help Cersei's army fight the White Walkers.
Okay.
But then after they defeat the White Walkers, which I wanted Jon to kill the Night King.
I think he deserved it.
I think so too. So I wanted Jon to kill the Night King, and then, like I wanted there'd be a moment where like they just barely beat them. They just barely beat him, you know, and then you'd have like the Gendry's Baratheons show up, and like that's kind of like the turning tide, you know, because Game of Thrones likes doing that. They do it repeatedly.
Yeah.
Where like the battle's almost lost, and then Stannis comes in, Littlefinger comes in at the Battle of the Bastards. I thought you could do that again, but this time it's Gendry with the Baratheon bannermen.
Okay.
So then you'd have a moment where the White Walkers are dead, everyone's standing there, and then something like I was thinking Daenerys. This would be her breaking point again at King's Landing, but that would be where she then triggers the battle right away with Cersei after they just defeated the White Walkers.
Okay.
So like everyone's exhausted, half the town's destroyed, and then Dany snaps and they fight. They just go right back into it with each other. And then that is when the Knights of the Vale would come. And instead of having Daenerys turn on the people of King's Landing, as the Knights of the Vale were coming, I also wanted Varys' letter to be to Dario.
Yeah, because they
for
kind of forgot about him.
reinforcements. Yes. So Dario comes with his reinforcements, and he's talking to Daenerys, right? And Daenerys is already pretty much snapped, but not all the way. And so then Dario sees that Daenerys is with Jon, doesn't really care, you know, but because Daenerys is mad at Jon, she's like, now I want you, Dario. Like, she tries kind of like confiding in him because he's the last familiar person left to her. And he rejects her. And he's like, no, I'm not, you know, it's been years. You were kind of done with me. I came here to support you. Then I'm going back. She snaps and kills Dario. And then that's like her final breaking point. And so she goes crazy. She kills her own troops that Dario brought. She kills the Knights of the Vale. And then she claims King's Landing as her own.
I would love it if Robb and Arryn died.
Well, of course. And then, so that was going to be the end of episode 5. Which was structured pretty similar to how it was with the ending being Daenerys breaking. Mm-hmm. And then episode 6 would be, again, much like it actually was people reacting to it. And so it would be Varys, Tyrion, and Jon talking, trying to get Jon on the throne. But then Jon would sell Tyrion and Varys out. Which I thought made a lot more sense than Tyrion because Jon's so honorable.
Yep.
Right? Like, that's his thing. He's honorable to a fault. It makes him an idiot.
Yep.
So he sells out Tyrion and Varys. Oh, and Cersei's taken prisoner. Did I not say that?
No.
She's taken prisoner. Qyburn dies. Clegane Bowl also happens, because I like the Clegane Bowl. They both die. But Cersei's taken prisoner. And while she's prisoner, Jaime goes to talk to her, figures out that her pregnancy was fake the entire time, and then Jaime kills her.
Okay.
Do you think he would, though?
I think he could.
I think he could too.
I think he could, but I don't know if he would. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think especially because when he leaves her at the end of season 7, he's so fed up with her bullshit, and then like the last thing that he's latching onto is that she's pregnant with a kid again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if that was all a lie to manipulate him, I think that could make him snap and kill her.
I could see it.
Or I think, or at least let something happen to her. You know?
Yeah, but there's also the reason I wanted Jamie to do it is because in the books there's this prophecy
Oh, true.
about how like he gets killed by a lover or like a relative kind of thing. So
Okay.
it makes sense to me. So he does that. The Hound died in King's Landing fighting the Mountain. I also wanted the Mountain to kill Qyburn because that's just poetic justice at its finest.
Kind of like a Prometheus
Kind of, yeah.
kind of deal.
Yeah, which they had in this season from him crushing his head on the wall. They just didn't play it up. So Jaime kills Cersei, and then Daenerys gets mad at Jaime and is going to kill Jaime, which makes Tyrion stand up for Jaime, which then makes him agree. So he gets Jaime free, you know, like out of it. But then that makes him agree with Varys that like Dany needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really know how to do it. But then my idea of how it's done is that Arya off screen. And this is where I was getting frustrated because it was only 6 episodes, so it's impossible to fit all this shit in.
Right.
I know.
Arya off screen took Dario's face.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there's a scene where like Daenerys is in a room or something and Dario comes back and Arya fucking stabs her
That would be really
and
cool.
then takes off Dario's face and it's Arya.
It comes back as the original Dario.
Well, I mean, because if Daenerys killed Dario,
Yeah.
like, it'd kind of be like a,
Poetic justice again.
yeah, like a really fucked up.
Yeah. Especially because like she wanted him back. So then like that, her brain would be broken. She'd be like, oh, he came back. Not thinking that she fucking killed him.
Yeah.
But then Jon sees that. And Jon goes, all right, fuck all this. I'm going to go be the new Wildling King. Just fuck all this. So he goes back north. Oh, I also wanted Tormund to fuck off too.
Okay.
Sorry, I really should have finished writing all this down.
That's fine.
But so Jon goes with Tormund, and he becomes like the new Mance Raider,
Okay.
leading the Wildlands. And then, so Dany's dead, and then Bran leaves with Jon. He's like, I'm above all this. I don't give a shit. And then I wanted it to end with there being a meeting of the lords, kind of like there was, to discuss a new king.
Or queen.
Or queen. Discuss a new ruler. But I kind of wanted to pull a Sopranos with it, where you never find out who they picked. Like, they're talking about it, and then just the audio cuts off as it's, like, zooming out, and you never know who they picked. And then it cuts to Jon in the north, and he finds evidence of White Walkers again.
It finds out what?
Evidence of White Walkers.
I forgot who was the sister that was helping Bran. I forgot her name. You know.
Oh. I don't know her name yet.
But I think, especially after how she left.
Yeah.
I think Bran. It would have been better if Bran went back. I guess it would kind of contradict the three-eyed raven bullshit.
Yeah.
But I feel like she's the only person that Bran really has a connection to at this point.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's why I thought it would be best for Bran to just like go back to the tree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like, I'm just gonna go be the three-eyed raven because that's just what I do now.
yeah,
I'm
can see
above
it.
this. So that was my idea. It's not perfect, especially with the 6-episode limit. But I really wanted to focus on still having political intrigue.
Yep.
Having Cersei actually have some agency, which it was hard to fit in. Especially when you're trying to figure out stuff that Cersei can do, it's hard because there's only 3 characters there.
Yep.
You only have Cersei, Euron, and Qyburn.
Yep.
Also, I can't remember who I wanted to kill Euron. But
I would have liked Theon
Or Yara.
to kill. Yeah, Theon and Yara.
yeah, that would have been good.
That would.
And I wanted Euron to die due to overconfidence.
Which he kind of did.
Kind of, a little bit. But it was so contrived in how they did it. But yeah, that was my idea. It's not perfect, but
I think leaving more
I
of,
tried.
of an ambiguous ending would have left people more satisfied than what they did.
Yeah.
Because then people can always imagine the ending that they wanted.
Well, and especially because the whole point of the show is that it never ends.
Yeah.
So if you have a definitive ending like this, like I can't believe that Bran the Broken rules for 3,000 years in peace.
And that's what I was thinking about when they were showing what everyone was doing afterwards. And I'm like, so now everything's fine? Everyone's good? Like, show me how they're rebuilding after all that.
Yeah.
Fuck, like, it was a big turning point for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, the normal people, even including, the citizens of King's Landing, whatever's left of them.
Yeah.
Like, are they just cool now?
Mm-hmm.
I really hate the writers.
Yeah.
They fucked up monumentally.
Oh, some points I forgot. Brienne goes back north with Sansa to be her Kingsguard.
Kingsguard.
And then the other big one that I really focused on was Jaime retires after killing Cersei.
I think he finally needs his peace.
Yeah, I thought that made the most sense. Is like him and Bronn just go to Highgarden, and he's just a lord in Highgarden. He doesn't even wear his fake hand, and he doesn't care about his Kingsguard book not having anything in it anymore. He's just like, I'm just done.
I could see him almost even just giving it to Bronn finally.
Yeah.
And then just serving under him or whatever.
That's what I was envisioning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I had. That's going to do it for this bonus episode. You can find us on YouTube and Instagram as Default White Guys, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud as Deus Ex Cinema. Thanks for listening. We fixed Game of Thrones. HBO, hire us. Mostly Sureyya. She did most of the work.
The fuck does that mean?